welcome the East Lampeter Town Public Meeting. All participants are now informed this meeting is being recorded. The meeting is also being virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any dates related to the public meeting. Agendas for public meetings are also available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hey, good evening and welcome to the Monday, July 19th meeting of the East Lampeter Industrial and Commercial Development Authority. We have no members of the authority on the Zoom meeting. There are three in the room. Vice Chair Ethan Demme and Board Member Glenn Everly. We have minutes of the April 19th, 2021 meeting. They've been distributed. Questions, board members? Hearing none, a motion for acceptance of the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Ethan and seconded by Glenn. Those in favor? Aye. And those opposed? None. Right. And number 3, old business. 3A, approval of payments, success fees, audit, and our brand consulting. Tara, looks like we're looking at, I've got 3 items here. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Total is $27,276.27, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Right. Do I have a motion for approval of payments?
So moved.
Okay, been moved by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, 3B, report on our branding, gateway signage, and wayfinding program. Tara, just let me know if someone can't hear me listening. Okay, how you doing? I'm doing fine. You just want to introduce yourself for the folks on Zoom. You can hold it or put on your lapel. Yeah, either one. If you're comfortable.
You're going to do the slides. Thank you all for having me here tonight. We've been working with staff as well as the steering committee and stakeholders on the branding for the 30 highway. Terry, you could just sort of flip through those a little bit. Again, we're Merge. John Bozio, Principal Merge, and we are the brand consultant. As we've gone through the project, and just to be joining us for the first time, we've been hired to develop a branding gateway and wayfinding program for the corridor. And I think that was an important part of that as we looked at it is, Discover Lancaster really promotes and markets the entire county, whether that is downtown Lancaster or just Amherst culture, various things. This project really focuses on the corridor itself, that 2.2 miles. I do a lot of branding, do a lot of wayfinding. I can tell you, we go into regions and towns that have a lot of diversity. And then when you think of that corridor and the 2.2 miles and all the different things you can do in 2.2 miles, it's a lot of stuff. And it was, it's an interesting problem to sort of solve from a branding standpoint. So we're going to take you through that. We did go out to the public at the very beginning with to get background information. We had an online survey. We had 672 responses to just the branding questions, as well as responses to wayfinding questions. So that really gives a lot of background as to how we should proceed forward and answer some of our questions that we had. what came out of it, I'm just giving a real quick summary because I think we've looked at the previous presentations that we've given. What came out of that was sort of 5 core ideas or areas that we should focus on as we've gone through the branding. So entertainment, fun, heritage, family friendly, and active were all sort of things we've tried to bring into the approach. Those are image boards that we had put together as we went through the process, just to sort of put some inspiration and sort of move.
Hey, John, take that clip it. See if you can. There's no clip on it. I would swap.
I'll just hold it like this.
I think they were saying you're coming away. So thank you, John.
One of the questions we asked, because it was sort of a core sort of question that we had to understand going into this, was, how do we refer to that project area? And Lincoln Highway, Route 30, do you call it Lancaster Outlets, Route 30 Outlets? We gave them some choices as well as some fill-ins. Lincoln Highway was clearly the reference that people utilized in order, as far as name. Because one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about that, we even looked at new names. But Lincoln Highway, Route 30 was sort of in the second place position. So as we looked at this, there were a variety of things we had to do. One was name, right? Do you call it Lincoln Highway? Do you call it Route 30? Do you come up with a whole nother name? And then, how do you sort of go about that? Are you looking at it based on the corridor? A corridor, is it a mile? Is it sort of reference to that? Is it about the experience, whether that's Amish heritage? Is it about the outlets? Is it about the family friendly? And then it was, maybe you come up with a completely new name, right? Can you go about that as well? But other things we looked at were definitely not only the name, but also the tagline, sort of the physical reference and all those kind of components. So they were parts that we looked at as we went through the process. We went through the process and we first presented maybe 15 to 20 ideas to Tara and Ralph. We sort of narrowed that down. We eventually went to the steering committee with 5, and then we eventually went out to the stakeholders with 3. Some of the things that we sort of learned through that process, and we really brought in staff and then also the steering committee into, how do we go about this? The name, and is it something that's recognized or new? And as we went through the process, we said it needs to be recognized. The identifier, is it a district, a mile, or some other kind of name? The location reference, should we refer to East Lampeter or should we refer to Lancaster? We said from a marketing standpoint, people know Lancaster, so we settled on that. And then the question regarding Amish or Dutch reference was, we said yes, no, maybe a little. We showed some original ideas that were very heavy in it. We showed some ideas that didn't reference it at all, and we made the decision that yes, maybe a little. We'll talk about how we did that. And then basically what we're looking at tonight is that sort of that basis for design, the mark, the typeface, the color, and the patterns. Like I said, we had a lot of different options, 15 to 20 to start out. We got that down to 5, we got that down to 3, which you're going to see tonight. It's gone through the stakeholders. This is option A. This is the preferred because we, based on our last meetings and the survey that we did, this is the preferred version based on the comments that we got, utilizing the name Lincoln Highway. We had some other taglines. We use plentiful sometimes. That was a preferred tagline, but the main tagline is Lancaster. Really not a tagline, but we want a reference because Lincoln Highway runs throughout many different states. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we have a reference to Lancaster. Someone Googles it. The mark itself really is inspired, from a hex sign or even a quilt, and bringing that sort of maybe little heritage into the program. And then the colors are bright, they're fun, they're colorful, they're family friendly. That's what the experience is all about. You could zoom in on some of those. So here you see the main mark, Lincoln Highway. Again, also trying to just get to all the different things that you can do. So lots of parts to it. The alternate logo was another sort of version we did as we went through this. How it might appear on different materials. And then marketing. So when you think about branding, the mark or the logo doesn't have to solve everything. You make it too complicated. So you want to see how it works to promote all the different things you can do. Here we're bringing in the language of the mark with the diamonds and the triangular shapes, and bringing that as part of the graphic language. Recently, we started to look at gateway elements. So here, again, we wanted to bring in, again, heritage, bringing in the materials. So you'll see this on the next slide, but I'll just explain it here, where you bring in sort of a stone base, beams, or a wood sort of a barn wood beam, that sort of painted finish to the logo, sort of the whitewashed version of it, and then dimensional letters. And you just go, I think you go to the next one. So there you can see it again. So these would be dimensional letters. The sides would be painted in color. And we're still looking at locations of where this may happen. So this was sort of, as you come in, what you start to see wayfinding signs directing to different destinations and just giving an enhancement marker on there, branding those elements. Now, you can see in space. Visually, the corridor is very busy. So we felt like we didn't want to sort of double up on that. The idea was to simplify the signs. That is a way to cut through that visual clutter and then bring in sort of that identity and then real clear signage that gets you to where you're going.
Right there in front of Brandon's place.
That's actually a sign that's out there now. So that's something that you have to replace.
Yeah, that's good.
Then we just start looking at infrastructural elements. Can you add, just the identity to something like that? It could be just cut out, so it's a little bit quieter. So there's times to use it when you use full color, and times to use it where you could just cut it out. You may drive up and down the corridor and see a bus shelter. You're just reinforcing that brand identity along the way. You may market, right? So if you market, not only just showing it on the billboard, but what does this look large? Does it work? And I go to the next slide. And does it work in my hand? So they're all things that we have to test along the way. So I think for the first one, since it was probably the most preferred of the three, we've taken it through a couple of these testing elements of the gateway, the billboard large, the handheld device.
Obviously, a family at Target or something. Screaming.
Then we have option B. Option B came out of an idea originally where we were trying to use the word outlets within this sort of idea of Route 30, let's go. It's not as much a mark or a logo as it is sort of an idea and a reference. So this is Route 30, let's go. We realized, hey, you have to have an apostrophe in there. So apostrophe. That's in the next slide. But then we said, well, Route 30, let's go, let's play, let's eat, let's shop, let's explore. And can you use that as a branding language to really promote all the different things you can do in that 2.2 miles? So these were, again, the logo is rather simple. It's more the idea behind all the different things you can do. Always sort of listing them. It's sort of a hotter colors as well. And then you start to combine those things with images. Let's explore, let's shop. In this image, we're also always having the sky as the background. Another sort of branding cue that sort of the sky is the limit. There's all these things you can do. Let's speed, let's cruise. And then we start to drop it into, you could do, as you go up and down the corridor, you may have banners. You may see it on transit. And again, what does it look large? And then next one, what does it look small? So really sort of promoting it in both. Option C, this received sort of the least favorable from the stakeholders that we got back, so we didn't expand it too far. This was utilizing it as 30 East, or utilizing that name. Every little thing. So it was a play both on the mark is all these different things, all these different pieces, and then every little thing, all the different things you can do while you're here. We just expanded this through the mark and some of the marketing material to bring this out into the environment. And then lastly, we did a comparison just it's going to live with the attractions and the destinations that are out there. So we just wanted to see how each of them looked when it was sort of teamed with those elements. So there's the three design options. Again, we've sort of gone through the process with the staff and with the steering committee, got it down to these three with the stakeholders, got their feedback. Option A is the preferred option. Obviously, the reference to Lancaster, and then maybe there is some favorableness towards this idea of let's go, having, sort of promoting that idea, but not necessarily.
So the steering committee is all rallying around option A.
I don't have the exact count for each of those groups, but from the online survey that we did of the steering committee and the stakeholders, it was 66% were option A, and it was like 27 for option B, and then C.
Okay.
Just like 1%.
Okay. Questions, guys? What's your vote? What's your vote? Where do you fit into that 66, 27%? A, Ethan? Yeah. Yeah. I would lean A. That's where I would lean. Ethan?
A and B are both solid. A, I think, has a little more appeal to local folks. I love the mark, just without the Lincoln Highway Lancaster on it being utilized as sort of that primary branding piece. And that gives the people, will be the repeat customers that they just see the mark. Eventually the Lincoln Highway sort of goes away. They know what that is, but that's just I like that sort of exploding X sign. But the Route 30, let's go, I think would be a solid pick, but we do have to choose, but I would also go with A as the first choice.
Okay. Staff, you were part of all these conversations.
I was, yeah.
The 66% that was
From the very beginning.
leaning towards all this. So give me your thoughts, please.
So I actually voted for B as the one that I would choose. But until I saw how it looked in the environment, and then I completely changed my mind to A. That did it for me.
Okay. Right. I like the
put
way.
myself in the same spot.
Yeah. I can see why you had those three as your finalists. They definitely have something to offer, all three of them.
And I will say, we went through probably 30 different words, 30 different taglines, 30 different ways to put Lincoln Highway and Route 30 together, or the Bountiful Way was another, possibility. And so we tried new ones, and it just didn't work. So
We talked about sort of the level of effort related to doing something that was completely new. It was completely foreign to local culture and just trying to market that. That the level of effort associated with that compared to the understanding of Lincoln Highway and Lancaster and Amish, that sort of thing. There's no reason to like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was out there on Saturday about 4 o'clock before the rains let loose. It might have even been 5 o'clock. And Dutch Wonderland was packed. I mean, the highway was packed. People were everywhere. And I went, wow, it's Ching. There's everybody spending that money. Come on back, And I was anticipating, looking at this and kind of seeing what you had to say. And you're capturing it in your 4 images there, it really does. The family screaming on the roller coaster to the people having a good time shopping and dining. And so I think you've captured it well. So.
Yeah. It's a togetherness.
Yeah. Okay. We probably need, at this point, looks like we need to keep it moving. So, Okay.
Second.
Okay, been moved by Glenn, seconded by Ethan. Okay. Public, I didn't do that.
Comment.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyone on the Zoom interested in this topic? Want to make any comments on it?
Can you hear us now?
Yep, we can hear you, Mike.
This is Bill Helm from the volleyball corner.
Okay.
I just had a couple of questions. I just put a note there. What is the major driving force behind this? Is this to dress up the Lincoln Highway stretch? Is the idea to bring more people to the Lincoln Highway area? What is the number one thing we're trying to do here?
Well, I think you just summarized it very well. This is a corridor, Bill, that has had several lives over the years, and this newest life is coming about in a time when economic corridors like this, economic destination locations, need and require a personality, a common brand, a common theme. We're trying to market, as John said, a diverse number of businesses and destinations, activities that need to come together under a single brand, so that we as a community, obviously under the Industrial and Commercial Development Authority, we've got an interest in marketing this and bringing in dollars to put in infrastructure. So we've got to present this to many different entities, both visitors and tourists and locals, PennDOT, the federal Highway Administration. We're trying to put this together in a way that we can market this long term and keep the vitality and the life of the corridor
Yeah, and I
going.
think that while we've been concentrating obviously on the graphic design and the branding component of it, it doesn't work just by itself. There are streetscape projects and improvements to the corridor that are all sort of part of the effort, and this is just a component of that particular effort.
Right, and this was an implementation effort out of the Route 30 streetscape plan
Right.
as well.
So it's a piece of that plan.
Yeah, and the way I explain it to folks who ask me is when you go to places like King of Prussia, you go to Hershey, Pennsylvania, you get on the Longwood Gardens, there's these sort of destinations as a grouping of businesses along a corridor or a certain geographic boundary, but within that you've got wayfaring signage. So when you walk in, you see, all right, welcome to Hershey, Pennsylvania. That goes beyond just the townships and the boroughs. That tells you here's how to get to Hershey Park, here's how to get to this hotel. It's that one cohesive unit. And most people don't realize that when they go to one of those places, they're seeing the results of branding, business improvement districts, commercial development authorities like this one. That's what went into making those places destinations. So the goal is to do what has been done successfully in other places just nearby and bringing that to this section of Lincoln Highway.
Good description.
Here's what I was wondering, like with
Bill,
this.
is that you?
Yeah, this is still Bill.
Okay.
When I look at the gateway entrances, I like that signage idea. I could be sold on that pretty easy. But here's how I look at it is you're going to enter the busiest entrances onto this corridor. So if we take Route 30 east of Lancaster, coming from the east, first thing we're going to see is I think it's still a vacant Wawa gas station there. I'm not sure what that does to put a nice sign in front of that. Or the next busiest is probably from the west coming off the Route 30 bypass. And the first thing you see is the vacant old Howard Johnson's lot there that's empty and abandoned. And probably the third busiest is where I am, coming off the 462 exit with all that overgrowth, the trees, on both sides there. I'm just wondering how a couple of signs is going to dress that up.
Sure.
John, I don't know if
No, it's not just the answer to that. It's not the answer to that is it's not just the signs. There are plans to do streetscapes, and there's a PennDOT project for the Western Gateway. So it's all coordinated with that. It's not just dropping a sign into those existing areas.
Okay,
I don't know
this sort of
if you're-
eyesores are obviously being addressed, not just making the intersection
Correct.
nicer.
Sure. But by your question, Bill, and I don't mean to insult you by saying this, but over the past 5 years, we've been working on a $170 million streetscape improvement project that runs from Strasburg Pike east to 896. So let me just repeat, about $170 million project. This is just a small but a very important component that is branding all of that. So we've got a long-term project here, and this is one of those dominoes that has to fall. But I appreciate your concerns, Bill. By any means, I certainly don't want to put taxpayer dollars into some signs that just get buried behind weeds and ugly buildings. By the way, I do believe that one of those parcels that you mentioned is actually probably in the selling process right now. So, so there are lots of improvements coming. So
yeah, ours is a little
Thank you.
different because we're almost totally a destination stop. So all the people that come in here are generally we're bringing in here, and then they hope they shop or go to a restaurant while they're here. I think the restaurants, and I think notice in here with the destination stops, it'd be wonderful if like the Wyndham gets to the point like it used to be where they're running conventions and golf tournaments and that type of thing that people want to stay for 2 or 3 days.
Absolutely.
So,
We're with you on that one too. And we're doing everything we can to keep that going. So, thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. And anyone else? We have about 2 minutes and then we have to start our regular Board of Supervisors meeting.
John, it's Mike Thornton. Can you hear me?
We got you, Mike. Yep.
I just, I wrote it in the chat really quickly that, yeah, option 1 looks great. I'm just worried about the font size. It looks like there's a relationship between the words and the size. Lancaster looks pretty small, just looking at it, on top, on a shirt, or I know now that's something that would be used in publications, trifolds, things of that nature. I just had a question for the design gentleman there about that.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. John.
Sure, yeah. We are at the sort of general concept, trying to get that nailed down, and then we will look at copy heights and all of those things related to different elements that it's applied to. So the gateway sign's a good example where we have the ability to break it out and make it larger, and make it more legible based on what the application is going to be. So that's sort of our next steps as we go through.
Okay. I just echo the comments. Applaud the effort. The corridor needs an identity. Look, I'm still using the word corridor. It needs an identity, and this branding is exactly, the type of thing that just works in conjunction with the whole streetscape plan. So, good job on it, I think.
That's great. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your comments. Okay, we're going to need to end the meeting, John. I don't think we voted, so the motion's on the table of Glenn. Go with option A. Ethan seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, John, you got some direction?